Hi, my name is Melissa Sprague. I am in my second year at NHTI, where I am studying education, special education, and mindful communication. Today is February 8th of 2021, and it is 8:25 p.m. So today we have the amazing honor of speaking with Alyssa. Alyssa is a very active community member and the owner of Apotheca, which is kind of an eclectic cafe, flower plant, and gift shop, which for many of us serves as a major linchpin of local community, a sort of hub, if you will. In my personal experience, Apotheca has brought a really enduring sense of connection and collaboration to our community, which we feel even now during COVID. Alyssa also does flower design for weddings and events all over the tri-state area. Alyssa, you have so many cool projects going on. Can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you're doing in our community?
That was such a lovely introduction. You're getting me emotional just with your introduction. Okay, the question was a little bit more about who I am. I consider myself to be an artist and a steward of Apotheca. I feel like Apotheca kind of belongs to our community, and we were talking briefly about that, the fact that it really is our customers and our community that gives Apotheca its lifeblood. But I'm also a mother of 4, and we have 3 cats, a dog, 16 chickens, and 2 pygmy goats at home. Funny, like just that hobby farm thing that happened with COVID. So that's been a new development for our household. But yeah, so I feel that I'm a florist, at Apotheca, and I really take the fact that flowers are a conduit for emotion and connection. I take that privilege really seriously, and I feel like our business exists. Our motto is acknowledge, uplift, inspire, impact, and we really exist to create those connecting points for each other. And yeah, so I think that's me.
Awesome. So I'm asking everyone to reflect on what their lives were like and what a typical day was like before COVID, and then to think about what it's like for you now. What's different?
Oh, so there are definitely a lot of things that are different. Obviously with family, that's very different, but because we're kind of focusing on Apotheca right now, we've gone through a lot of transitions with COVID, and I would say right now things appear more normal than they have. Obviously a year ago in March, when we initially shut down, we kind of really had to look at. I had to look at our mission. I had to look at, we exist to impact our customers in positive ways. How are we going to do that when we're not able to let them come into our space? And Apotheca, I don't look at it just as a place where we buy things and sell them to our customers. We really look at it as an immersive kind of experience. We want people to come in and feel enveloped by our space and inspired by our space. And suddenly that couldn't happen. So I really had to think about how my team and I were going to continue to connect, impact, and make a difference in our customers' lives. So we started doing curbside pickup like a lot of people did, and we just really tried to lean into just small like notes on our packages, little thank you notes, little messages, just things to personalize it. And the whole porch handoff, that was our extent of interacting with our customers and interacting with people. So those little moments on the porch became so powerful, and we would hand off a plant or a flower arrangement or a jewelry item, whatever it was, and whoever was doing the handoff would just come in with like just feeling so recharged, just because that is what fuels us and that's what fuels the space. And we were kind of just living off of those little opportunities to interact and impact in that way. And another thing we started doing was our kindness and connection arrangements. And usually we have a $50 minimum, and then there's a delivery fee. But we ourselves felt so helpless to kind of make a difference in what can we do, and just bringing it all back to the fact that we're a flower shop and we exist to create connections through flowers. we offered a kindness and connection arrangement with free delivery to nursing homes. And the orders for those arrangements just really flooded in. And we were delivering every day, we were delivering arrangements to nursing homes. And Pierre was taking a load of them to a nursing home, and he had left and was he wanted to send me a video message and just fill me in on what had happened. And he was describing this scene where people were outside of the nursing home, family members, and they were trying to communicate with their loved ones, and they couldn't go inside. And this was very new, and just this feeling of separation and feeling of helplessness. And Pierre was describing this woman who was at a window and she was just crying, and he went up to her and he said, we have these flower arrangements. I would love to have you write on this paper, write a note to your mom or your dad or whoever's here, and we could make sure it gets to them. And Pierre said she just started sobbing even more. And as Pierre's telling the story, he's getting emotional. And this is like, he didn't cry at the births of our children. Like he just doesn't do that. And so of course we're all emotional, watching this, but it's like, that is what it's about. How can we make a difference in just a small way? And what an honor for us to feel like we were that go-between. We were able to make that happen, to brighten someone's day with flowers, and to also let someone who didn't even know who was going to be the recipient on the other end to receive that. So that was really special for us. I know that doesn't completely answer your question, but there's was such a process throughout the year, an evolution with the shop and figuring out how we could still serve and be relevant, even though so many things were different.
Wonderful. No, that's perfect. So what are some other challenges that you faced over the past year or as a result of COVID? Anything else?
Yeah, so a large part of our business model is weddings. We do weddings all over, and just with that, the change of the kind of hit on the wedding industry, so to speak, we didn't know what that was going to look like, if we were going to have any weddings at all, if they were all going to be postponed. So I needed to look at it as if a worst case scenario were to happen and if all of our weddings postponed, how would we generate income? How would we pick up that lost revenue? And not only that, we didn't know if we'd be deemed an essential business. So even before, not to jump around on you, but even before that, I reached out to Jean Shaheen and some other people, finally got to the governor's office and just made a video. And I just said, please, yes, this is a health crisis, but it's also a mental health crisis. Like, there are people who are completely alone, and flowers are a way for us to build those connections. And because I believe that, I know how powerful, even just receiving a card in the mail, just any form of human connection, it's just huge. So he did end up listing us as an essential business, which I was so grateful for, the florists specifically. But we still had the fact that, weddings were going to be potentially gone altogether, or just severely, just a lot fewer. So we ended up finding another revenue stream, and that was shipping flowers. So we can now ship flowers nationwide. And we had some learning curves to that whole thing. But it's been really fun because, again, we have customers or family members of customers that have come to Apothega to visit when they're in town, and now their kids who live here and they live in Arkansas, they can send them flowers from us. So that's been really fun, and we're still working on developing that and making sure that we're doing it in the best way possible. But that was I would never have imagined that would be something that we could do, but just out of the kind of the constraints and needing to problem solve and need to think outside of the box, that was kind of a fun positive that developed as a result. So there's a challenge, but then hopefully a positive solution that we're still refining.
That's excellent. Did you get any other response, any personal response from from
the shipping the flowers? Or
oh no, from your letter to the mayor, was it? Or the senator?
The governor. It actually, so it went to so it started with the mayor, Manchester mayor. She's so lovely. And then the senator, and then the governor. So I know that it got to the governor because someone in the governor's office responded to me and said that she would make sure that he got it. And then I happened to be at a Girls at Work event, and I wanted to thank him personally, but I just couldn't get over there to have a conversation with him. But it was nice because it really did feel like putting ourselves out there makes a difference. And again, I don't know that that's why he listed us specifically, but I know that there were a lot of states where florists weren't listed specifically, and they had to kind of reach out and try to figure out if they were able to stay open or not. And we chose to actually stay closed. We didn't have people come in because we have a large, a lot of our customers that come in on a regular basis are retired. And I feel a huge sense of responsibility to make sure that we're keeping them safe. And at the time, we didn't know anything about it. And I just would have been terrible to have, our group just, to have COVID happen to our little group. So we stayed closed. Eventually we opened our magic window, which was fun. We had kind of a takeout window where people could order and pick up their drinks and whatnot from there. So we had the curbside pickup, magic window. We tried to make it, as fun and interactive as possible.
So cool. So tell me a little bit more about how you or your customers have been finding comfort and meaning and connection during these times.
Yeah, so there's one of my favorite customers. I have so many favorite customers, but there's a woman in particular who's a little bit of a recluse. She lives alone. She's never been married. She's never wanted to get married. She doesn't have children. She doesn't have family to live around here. And when we closed, she would still make a point to come to Apotheca, come to the porch, just kind of peek through the window, give us a little wave. She'd feed the birds every day. She would just always kind of circle, and we knew that she was there. She knew we were there. And it would just break my heart because I wanted to be like, come on inside. If she could just sit in the corner, but for her own safety, I didn't, that wasn't okay. We weren't going to do that. Eventually we've learned more about how to safely operate. We opened, we have limited seating, people wear masks. And so she was able to come back inside. And it's just so great to have her and our crew there. Obviously not as many people right now, but she was writing me letters trying to ask me if we would consider opening on Sunday. So she'll write me notes, and she'll leave notes for me and write letters. She's amazing. And she said to me, actually the one that she sent me, she'll type on a typewriter and leave notes for me. And one of them just said, solitude is one thing, isolation is another story. I can't thank you enough for having your Apotheca open. And it's just like, I have it hanging up downstairs, because if ever I start to feel like, this is just too much, or this is a lot, start to get overwhelmed or start to feel defeated, like that, just reading that will just, it just kind of gives me what I need to be like, all right, you keep going. Did we freeze there for a minute? I don't know.
A little bit, not bad.
Okay. But she wanted us to be open on Sundays. And at the time we were closed because we had to reformat our hours. We were working with a smaller team. We closed at 4. Actually, at the time we closed at 3. Now we're open till 4, and we were closed on Sundays. But she would just periodically say, and then she wrote me a letter. It's always the letters. She's like, Alyssa, some people have church. I don't have church, but Apotheca is my church on Sundays. Please consider opening. And that was it. I met with our team, and this is really kind of a cafe team decision, like just making sure that we had the man hours to cover it. So we made some hires, and then we reopened on Sundays. And yes, it was for more than just her, but she was a big contributing factor to that decision and the push to do that.
So that was awesome. Thank you. How do you feel like this experience this past year and COVID have changed both you and your business?
I feel like it has made me, it's built, it's just my confidence in myself, recognizing that I can I can figure it out. I can do hard things. Yes, I've done hard things. I've been in business for 15 years. We survived 2008. And, you know, of course, there have been other ups and downs, but this is pretty big. And I think it just reinforced my commitment to our mission and to my business, and instilled some confidence. But it also, I think, just increased my commitment to be a better leader, which has really been a focus of mine, you know, for the past several years. Just how can I protect the reason why Apothic exists, and make sure, regardless of what's going on externally, making sure that we are making a difference. We're here to serve our customers, and we are here to inspire and to make that impact and that connection point. So just knowing that even when your external circumstances change, even when the shape of everything becomes different, if you have that guiding light and you stay focused on that, you're going to find ways to keep reaching for what matters. So I feel like that's been pretty huge, kind of a huge takeaway for me through all this. But you know, I just have to say though too, like our customers that supported us, even when it became a pain, you know, having to figure out how to order online and figure out the curbside pickup and come to the magic window, and our customers have been relentlessly supportive, and I just am so grateful for that love and the effort. And we truly, you know, we're a small business in a small town. We truly would not be here if it weren't for that.
You bet. Oh my word, I love it. Is there anything else that you'd like to say? Anything at all? Any other stories you'd like to share?
I think I know it hasn't been easy for people, you know, and I think that it's okay to have it, to not be okay. It's okay to be sick of this. It's okay to just feel really frustrated and to struggle. Like, I think it's been hard for families. It's been hard for relationships. It's been hard for creativity. It's been hard financially. You know, I think there's been a lot of struggle. So I think it's okay to acknowledge that, and then to also choose to focus on finding those positives. There's so much that's outside of our control, but being able to choose to bring into your life those things that make it better. And just protecting your thoughts, protecting what you're focusing on, so that you can continue to grow through this thing together. I think that's probably it.
All righty. Thank you so much, Alyssa. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing with us and for honoring us with your story, your many stories. And thank you for the role that you play in our community.
Thank you. Thank you for being a part of it. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.